Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Sportycast Football. This is episode 93 of the 343 podcast, and I'm your host, Riyaz Parker, and joined today by Ziyaad, Coach Ziyaad, if I'm supposed to correctly say that. I'm not sure. I've never called you Coach Ziyaad, so it's odd calling you that.
Yeah, look, it was just to try and differentiate myself, on social media, but with all these new networks popping up, I thought I'll just go back to Ziad Parker 7,
Okay.
since Twitter is on it's spiraling downwards and people are
It really
just
is.
getting off it, which is actually helpful for me because I can go the route of the great AF and Mr. Jason Ronnie and have the same username across all platforms. So it's IG, Blue Sky, and Threads, which has the
Okay.
Art Parker 7. So we can roll with that. I know you also use the 7 sometimes, but I see you got it silent at the moment.
Yeah, it's silent on here. So on my Instagram, the 7 is still there, but on Twitter, it's a bit silent here and there because do I really use Twitter? Let's be honest.
Yeah, man, it's gone. It's gone. Burn it.
It's unfortunate at the moment, but yeah. Today's episode, we are going. It's the two of us, so that's going to be really interesting. It's going to be quite interesting episode. We're going to talk about We're going to preview actually the Manchester City versus Spurs game, which is this weekend after this international break. We're going to talk a little bit about Arsenal and Chelsea's fixtures going ahead, moving forward. Maybe a sneaky FPL tip here or there from the coach himself. And then we're going to start off with Manchester United because even though we don't have our, I guess, expert Manchester United people here today, I just felt like, because it's like topical and because I just felt like we need to cover it. I just
Yeah,
felt
and
like
the name of our show is 343, so we gotta talk about it.
because I'm going to get straight into that there then
Yeah, let's
because
go.
he is coming in with a specific formation, which I personally I think we all wanted Ten Hag to kind of stay because it showed where United were and how kind of bad I guess they seem to play. But now with a coach that is coming in that kind of knows what he's doing, even at a young age, he's going to bring in a system that people aren't going to kind of they're not going to wonder what kind of what they need to do on the field. Whereas nowadays, United don't really know what they want to do on the field. They just play here and there, play passes here and there, and things like that. So, in terms of the overarching kind of outlook of Manchester United, how far do we think that he can actually take them this season? Let's stick to this season.
Look, I was reading an article earlier where it said just look at the next 11 games. I think they have 11 games up until I would say the end of the year. So it's a good place to start, to see what they can do. But there's a lot of optimism, obviously, with change. Everything is exciting because you have that feeling that you can move on from whatever it was in the past, and obviously it wasn't great with Ten Hag, especially towards the back end there. So there's a lot of optimism around the club at the moment, but it's it's too early to tell, man. I think everybody's a bit overexcited, especially considering that he went to go beat Man City just before coming across. So, and I mean, like, what the hell, bruh? There's this video, a 7-minute video from training
Yeah,
that people are waxing lyrical about. AF tweeted that he saw all he needed to see. All it took was 7 minutes of a video that was probably edited to show certain things. You also had most of the players not available for training because they're on international duty,
yeah,
right? So I mean, I think they just need to slow down a bit and actually see what happens. Obviously, with Ipswich coming up, I think it's going to be an easy win for them, new manager bounce and so on. But you're only really going to tell by the end of the year. And another thing I read today, which is quite interesting, is that there isn't going to be much money for him to spend. He's being tasked with getting the best out of the current squad, and the
mm,
current squad's been the problem. They've
yeah,
they've gotten Ten Hag in trouble. A lot of these players were still in the mix when Oli was at the wheel. He got, and they got him in trouble as well. So initially, and I don't mean to compare it in any way to Arsenal, but I want to see what he does to the culture. Can he
yeah.
change the culture? Because then the rest will follow. No matter if he's playing 3, 4, 5, whatever, can he change the culture and can he make the players better? which is ultimately a coach's job.
Yeah, and I think maybe that's where AF is getting a bit carried away, because I think in that video he was talking about the culture, and that's where he started. He was talking about how he wants to integrate himself and then work with the people above him to kind of change that kind of culture in the club, which is a good start. I mean, it's where it's needed, because, like you said, those players have gotten how many managers sacked already, and they're still around somehow. But it seems it seems like and you say 11 games till the end of the year. That's a lot of games in kind of 8 weeks or something. Like it's going to
Yeah, because
become,
you factor in the European games, right?
yeah, and it's going to be ridiculous to kind of, is it easier that way, kind of playing every week in a new role, in a new job with a new team? Is it easier, do you think, seeing the players playing so much, or would you prefer to have, as a coach, kind of time off the pitch, like at training, to kind of get
I
them into
think most
systems?
coaches want that time to work with the players and get their ideas across. I mean, he's going to have 2 days with a full squad before the
Yeah,
Ipswich game because guys are going to be coming back from international breaks. It's not ideal. And if you are going to change, you're changing a system, going from whatever Ten Hag was doing to something a bit more different. There's going to be a lot of instructions. Players have to adapt. They're going to have to do a lot of things that they weren't doing. So it does take time to put that in place. But I mean, these are all things you know when you take the job in the middle of the season. So I suppose you got to balance going to win and trying to establish a style and structure. There's a balancing act that's gonna have to take place there, and also he's got a full new set of coaching staff, if I'm not mistaken, other than two people that stayed on. I think Darren Fletcher
I
stayed
think
on, if
so.
I'm not mistaken. I might be wrong. Let me rather not guess. I know there were two that stayed on. I feel like I saw Darren Fletcher's name somewhere there, but it's going to take a lot of guys getting used to each other and so on. So we'll see how quickly he can establish a rapport with the players while also changing the formation.
Yeah, I think it's easier and more difficult in a way, because if you can get your point across as a manager into this new system, I think the players will have less on their mind, so they can focus on their job at hand, kind of a thing. Whereas under Ten Hag, they had too many things going on in their mind, and they didn't know how to focus, and the focus was actually the problem at the end of the day. So, if you can kind of drill, let's say, the left wing back, this is your job. This is what you have to do during the game. This is where you look out for. This is the triangles you play, and you take it from there. Whereas Ten Hag, you have Dallo being the most forward person on the field at left back, which is crazy to me. So it's definitely going to be interesting. And it's, I shouldn't say this because they beat us in the last game, but Ipswich, an easy enough game to come and introduce yourself to the Premier League with that manager bounce.
Yeah, I mean, there isn't any easy games. I don't think there are
Yeah,
any easy games in the Premier League. But if you were gonna choose, you're probably gonna take a promoted team to get up and running against. The nice thing about a new manager is it's an audition, man. Everyone's, uh, whatever happened in the past, you kind of have this opportunity now where you can audition for a spot in the team. Plus, with a new formation, there are certain guys who may have been out of the mix who can now say, look, I can do a job at left wing back or right wing back or whatever. You can accommodate three centre backs, so someone can put their hand up who might not have been playing. And the attackers actually have a big challenge ahead of them because they're actually going to lose a spot in the new formation
yeah.
where one of them are going to have to sit out. So, spots are up for grabs. And now it's who wants it, and you perform well, you stay in the team. It's really that's simple. So you get a clean slate, especially with guys like Anthony and guys like that, where they kind of haven't done well, but they get to
Yeah,
reinvent themselves one more time. Otherwise, they go in the shopping window in
yeah,
January. It's like, listen, I've seen these guys for 8, 10 games, worked on the training field, and these are the guys I want to keep. These are the guys I want to move on from. Simple.
and I think that's where he's going to get his money from at the end of the day. Is the transfer window. Even though they're not going to give him much initially, I think him offloading players at the end of the day is going to get him whatever money he can.
The
I guess.
players they want to get rid of, they're gonna probably have to pay people to take.
Shame. If that wasn't true, shame. Talking about the players quickly, just before we move on. I want to get into some of the key roles, or as much as we can get. I want to go deeper in when we get the United guys back. But like you say, there's some roles where people can reinvent themselves, and some places where people are going to miss out. And I think the most difficult part, because now I saw that apparently, I'm not 100% sure about this, but apparently most of the guys are back from injury. Even I think Yoro's even taken part in some training, which is
Yeah,
interesting.
Yaro made a starting appearance in the 7-minute video.
Okay, lovely stuff. I'm sure they had to be front and center there because they miss him so much, or the 7 minutes that he played so far. Um, but I think Malaysia is also back after 18 months. I think Luke Shaw is back after not wanting to play for however long, since England. And so it's going to be interesting to see who they play where. And I want to get to two kind of roles, if we can talk about it just briefly, like in a bit of a nutshell. Is that left wing back? Because I'm assuming Mazraoui, he's been the best player this season, so he's going to start at right wing back. So that second on the left is there like, is it nailed on to be Dallo, or do we think kind of it's Anthony can, like you say, Anthony can maybe reinvent himself, or do we think it's just going to be simply Luke Shaw? Like, how do we feel about that left wing back position?
Man, I don't know. So in this fantastic video, Malaysia was playing in that spot on the left with Anthony on the right. Obviously, a lot of the guys were on the international break,
Yeah,
but those spots are up for grabs. Like a guy who plays well in a 4-4-2 at left back or right back is very different to a wing back. We saw
true.
it often with Chelsea where a guy like Cucurella played more, or they switched him with there was another left back there who played better in a four. Um, and
Chilwell,
then when they switched to three, Chilwell, exactly. Yeah. So when they switched to three, then they made a change because the player was better, or whatever the case is. And I think that's what we're gonna have to see with this system, is that who's gonna take those roles when they get the chance, right? Like you say, Mazraoui is going to start. He's comfortable on both sides. I think he could be moved to accommodate whoever's better. Dallo obviously has been playing fairly well for United this season, so he does kind of have an inside lane to getting a go there. But yeah, Luke Shaw coming back from fitness, I don't know. That guy, if he's fit, he can do a really good job.
yeah,
But he's had his fitness issues, and yeah, it's going to be really interesting to see if he does convert a midfielder to kind of fit him in. Like against Ipswich, for example, you can pick a more attack-minded player in that spot because
yeah,
maybe you feel you don't have to defend as much, and you
yeah.
got the three centre backs to cover a guy who's going to bomb forward. But I don't know. It's there's no really standout players in those positions, and the fact that they're gonna have to play three centre backs also not great for them because the quality of the players, they have better players, in midfield maybe that they might have to sacrifice to accommodate a player. And now you're going to see guys starting like every week. Johnny Evans is in with a shout because they
Yeah,
need to pick three centre backs, right? So Lindelof limped off with on international duty, so I don't know if he's going to be fit for the weekend. So you're looking at probably Yaro, Maguire, Evans to start off. I don't know where
yeah.
Lissandro fit into it. So
He'll play there as
it's
left centre
uh,
back.
it's quite complicated.
But I think the issue there is like you say, they're picking that extra centre back, and you lose an attacker, right? So you kind of have to, or not have to, but if you don't kind of convert one to a left wing back or a right wing back, you lose someone in the front three, because you only now have three players you can fit in between
Yeah.
Bruno, Rashford, Garnacho,
Yeah, and
Ahmad,
Bruno is
Boylan.
going to be the captain still, right? You reckon he's still the captain?
Yeah,
I don't think that's going to change. So he's locked in for one of the number 10 spots. And then what? Do you put Diallo in? Do you put Garnacho in? Do you put Rashford in
Rashford.
there? Or does Rashford lead the line because you got Xerxes and Hoyland in your striker positions? What happens to some, like a guy like Ugarte, or um, like
Mount as
Amadialo,
well.
AF's favorite. Mason Mount. I mean, the system
Yeah,
could be tailor made for a guy like Mason Mount, but
yeah.
he needs the confidence, right? But yeah, people are going to have to sit out, unfortunately.
It's going to be super. Actually, the most excited thing I am for okay, one of the most excited things that I am for this weekend is to see that starting 11 and who play, like, because I personally I really like Mason Mount. I think
Yeah.
he's a really good player, and I think in that system he could be really good with Bruno Fernandes as the two tens. But then you sacrifice all those wide players that we just spoke about: Rashford,
Yeah.
Garnacho, Ahmad, all of them. Hoyland
But
even
actually,
maybe.
don't you think Rashford's better centrally? I think they kind of just throw him throw him wide just to accommodate him. But I actually think he's probably better leading the line, and I think he deserves a
Uh,
chance to get a run up front
he
because
tried
he's
though.
actually
He
good, right?
tried.
But
I think last season, the year before that, I think Ten Hag gave him a shot as a
yeah, but
striker,
we can discount
and
that.
he's not great, man. I don't like him leading the line. He doesn't like he doesn't have the wherewithal, I guess, to make the proper runs in behind. Whereas when they play him at the wide 2 feet, or you can play him on the counter attack wide, he has more space to do what he wants, I guess. But it will be interesting to see if they do sub him. Like I assume that he'll come on as a sub for
Okay.
Hoyland, maybe,
Yeah.
basically, as to, just to see to test the waters to see if he can lead the line. Because that's
Yeah.
if he can lead the line, then because Ruben Amorim's kind of striker is what everything revolves around, right? The Gyökeres has what 40 goals or something last season, which is ridiculous. And the second most was I think 12 or 13, something like that. So there's a
Yeah.
massive like comparison between their leading goal scorer, who's the striker in that system, and all the
Mm.
other ones, as opposed to Arsenal, who likes to share the goals around type thing.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, last thoughts about United, if you want to.
I think it's going to be something to watch. Obviously, quite interesting for us, being fans of other teams.
Unfortunate
But
though.
the media just they just hype it all up. So it's going to be interesting to see if they get a couple of good results. We're going to be talking about other team is back and they're going to compete and so on. But a couple of bad results, and it could be doubts start creeping in again. Did they make the right decision? And letting Ruud
Yeah,
van Nistelrooy walk and so on. So it's interesting. They are 13th on the log, but I mean the point difference is not too much.
it's
So
minimal.
after a
Yeah,
couple of wins, they could climb, and it's not too difficult run of fixtures, I think, coming up for them. So yeah, let's see how it all unravels. But it's nice to have a new coach in the mix. Also, someone with hair. You don't have to have that bald
yeah.
coaches association running riot there. Yeah, interesting times.
I think it's going to be good as well, just for the Premier League in general. Not for us really, because they're going to challenge now for top four probably, but yeah, for the Premier League in general, and especially a young coach that's coming through, similar to I guess Hurtsler and those types of
So
coaches that.
yeah, something interesting for you, right? Since we're both now into the NFL and we're taking it a bit more seriously this season,
Yeah.
do you think what are your thoughts on this, right? I think there are parallels between Manchester United and the Dallas Cowboys.
Why is that? What makes you say that?
Both historic franchises, right? They
Yeah,
Dallas Cowboys is known as America's team. Manchester United is probably the most worldwide English team, right? In terms of
yeah,
brand and following and so on. Strong history, haven't won much in recent times. Um, from that narrative, I thought it was quite interesting to see the parallel between the two teams since they both haven't had much success recently, but they two storied teams, clubs, franchises, however you want to call it.
yeah. And it's interesting because I think things can change like at the drop of a hat. Like I guess this small change can kind of put United back because, like you said, the points isn't that much the gap between
Yeah,
the top four and where they are now, which is 13th. And similarly, I guess in the NFL, it's a bit more difficult to kind of turn things around quickly
yeah.
because before you know it, you're 3-7 and the season is gone. But yeah, that's a great comparison. Though I'm going to keep my eye on that for the future, just
The
because.
Glazers won't like that since they own Tampa Bay. But anyway, moving on.
We're going to talk about Arsenal quickly. A kind of a top of the table game this weekend for you guys. Is everybody fit? Firstly, I want to ask you: is everybody fit? What's the after the international break? What's it looking like?
Coming out of the break, it seems like Trossard might have picked up something. But
Okay.
the best part of the international break is that most of the players didn't go, so
Yeah.
that's a plus. So I think the squad will be as close to first team as possible. I read something today that Martinelli and Gabriel are going to be coming back a bit late.
Okay.
So since playing for Brazil. It might be a long flight. So I don't know if they're going to be fully available, but they'll probably do their fitness checks and so on. So, I mean, the team probably is got enough guys to choose from. Timber should be available. I think Alafiori also might come back into the reckoning. So
Okay.
you should be able to pick a decent side. And also looking at the stretch of fixtures coming up, Arsenal's is a bit more favorable than what they had at the beginning of the season. I think a lot of the tough games are behind us, but that's the problem, right? So now we in the stretch of the fixture run where we kind of have to win,
Yeah.
and let's see if we're up for it. I hope we are, because these are the games that we've been counting on. We saw the tough games out of the way, and now hopefully we can keep 11 guys on the field and string it together.
Yeah, you say that, but you have United in a couple of weeks. But it's all good. It's a
Yeah, I
banter, I
mean, a
guess.
couple of weeks. By the time we get there, hopefully we're gonna build some momentum.
Yeah, that's fair because I mean there's West Ham as well. But I think
Mm,
this week we shouldn't look past this week because it's Nottingham Forest, right? And Nottingham Forest
yeah,
have been doing really, really well this season
that's gonna be
somehow.
a really tough game because Forest press well. So okay, luckily we have Erdegaard back,
Yeah,
so
important.
that helps us be a bit more press resistant. But Forest is a tough game. They've been doing really well. I'd go as far as to say that Nuno could be in the running for manager of the year so far. It's
Uh-huh.
between him and Slot, but with what Nuno inherited, I reckon he's doing a top job to have Forest up there. Obviously, it helps when Chris Wood is banging in the goals. I mean, he scored another hat trick for New
New
Zealand
Zealand. Yeah.
against Samoa. So I know it sounded a bit more like a rugby match, but at the end of the day,
It's the goals that go in at the end of the day. That's what matters. So he's on
yeah.
extreme form at the moment, and I guess if you say Gabriel isn't is coming a bit late, and if he doesn't, but you need him to start kind of. So if he doesn't start, who plays there next to him? Is it Calafiori? Does he throw him in there?
Yeah, I don't know. We're gonna have to see because Ben White is out. Ben White is
Oh, okay.
injured. He had surgery, I think, so he's out for 8 weeks, 6 to 8 weeks.
Oh, that's not
So I
good.
think he's relying on having Saliba and Gabriel play.
Yeah,
Obviously, centre back options. Calafiori can play in the centre. Um, I think
but now the right
Tomiyasu
back
might
is
be
the
back
issue.
as well. Timber can play right and left. He's got options. Party. He likes to play
Oh
party at
yeah,
right back,
that's
so
true.
I don't like that. But there are options. I think I think they'll be okay. But yeah, the fixture run is a bit better. But the team who has the best fixture run is Chelsea. Of their next 11 games,
Mm,
9 of those games rank 2 out of 5 on
okay.
that fixture difficulty rating. So they've got a clean run over the next, 6 weeks or so. What do you think of their prospects?
Um, I really wanted them to fail. I'm going to be upfront about that. I really wanted them to
Wow.
fail because I thought that they prematurely fired Poch. Genuinely, I thought
Yeah.
they prematurely fired him because I think towards the end of last season he was doing really well. He had just kind of found his playing 11 and started starting them every week, and they were doing well. And then they fired him. So just for my boy, kind of, I have kind of a little bit of loyalty there. I wanted them to fail, and the transfer kind of sagas, I guess, that they build up is ridiculous. Or was it? So now we
Yeah,
see that the transfer
speaking of the
sagas,
transfer strategy, right?
yeah.
Forest did the same thing. They literally just bought tons of players, both City and I mean both Chelsea and Forest. They just bought players, and it's they've kind of figured out what their best 11s are. They've with Chelsea, for example, they've got their Premier League kind of match day squad and their Conference League squad. So they've managed to figure it out. And Poch landed on his feet. Come on, he's got a great job with the
True.
US men's national team.
That
He's
is true.
got off to a great start. Beating Steve McLaren and the Jamaicans. Everyone's waxing lyrical about Pulisic, Ricardo Pepe. Guys are talking like they're enjoying their football playing for the US again. And he's got a
Yeah.
home World Cup in 2026 that he's working towards. So I think he's in a good position. So don't worry too much about your boy Poch.
One day when he's the second coming and he comes back to win us a trophy, and I'll at the end of the day be happy about that at the end. But
Okay, we'll just bookmark the Spurs talk. We'll come back to that.
yeah, yeah. So Chelsea, so they play Leicester this weekend, and then you said they have 9 out of the next 11. That means that they could kind of be there then, but they're about for when it
Yeah.
comes to the end of the year for the top of the table, kind of maybe. Are we saying that?
Yeah, I mean, it's not hard to see them staying in that top three. Obviously, Liverpool are going
Far
at
and away.
the speed of what's it? They just flying, and
Yeah,
with City you never know. So I mean, Chelsea could be in the top three. They could jump up a place if they're able to capitalize on this good run of fixtures, and the guys can stay healthy. Because Cole Palmer loves a game against the bottom half of the table.
yeah, he does.
So he'll capitalize on that, and then they'll have enough shots so Nico Jackson can afford to miss the 10 he normally misses and score the one. So I think they set up pretty well for that run.
And I think that I'm gonna have to kind of pull a reverse Uno and load them for their transfer sagas or their transfer market. I guess comings and goings because there's actually a method to it now that we see. Like you said, they have different squads for different competitions. Nobody's getting injured. Everybody's fairly good to go. Everybody's happy with their space in the squad. They have two very strong 11s. There's some places obviously that they need to strengthen still, which is basically the back line. But other than that, they look pretty good. And the advantage of having all these players, especially under the certain age, is that they can their bench is super strong. I think they have maybe the third
Yeah.
or like the fourth strongest bench
Yeah, I think that's
in
something we may have discounted when we were covering them at the beginning is that with the
yeah,
players being younger, they don't count in terms of registration. So they can have all these guys available and change things around. I think the biggest challenge to having such a big squad is when guys are not playing, how do you keep them
happy.
motivated? Like,
Yeah,
Jadon Sancho, he came thinking that, he's gonna be in the first 11, and he
yeah,
hasn't actually been in that first 11 as much as we would have thought, and probably you thought as well. Mudrik, there's those type of players. Is João Felix even at Chelsea? I forget sometimes. But
yeah,
these guys are not getting the game time that we would have thought they'd get. So either
yeah.
they're going to get paid enough to not complain about it, or in January there's going to be some rumblings, and some people could move on if they're not getting enough time. And I don't think this season is too much of a concern. But next season, with the World Cup being a year closer, you might see guys wanting to move to get more game time.
Yeah, 100%. That's a good shot actually. Um, I guess they do have a couple of seasons, maybe one more season to kind of get their ducks in a row, and then, like you say, once that we get closer to the World Cup, I think it's going to be difficult to try and keep so many players that are of top quality on good money that are supposed to be
Yeah,
playing first team football happy because
exactly.
they
Yeah.
don't get game time. They're not going to get into the national team. But yeah, so the last segment that we want to talk about is, of course, I hesitate to say the biggest game of the weekend because we really such a big team. But anyways, it's
Come
Spurs
on, man!
versus
Don't
City.
play yourself down like that. It's the big game. It's the game of the weekend. You could probably say, right, because it's two good teams playing against each other. You got Ange Postecoglou's attacking gung ho method against the more calculated Pep. On paper, Pep's whole squad is injured, but as you
Yeah,
get closer to the time, guys suddenly become fit and they find their way into the starting 11. But the biggest thing coming into this match is obviously the news that Pep signed an extension. So it's a 1 year contract extension with another option for an extra year.
okay.
What are your thoughts on the extension, and how do you think it ties into the charges in inverted commas
Yeah,
that are against City at the moment?
I was surprised. I'm very surprised that I thought he was gone. I honestly thought this was his last season. He was gonna win the season, and it was gonna be bye bye Pep. And next season it was gonna be the most interesting Premier League season of all time. But since he's staying, I'm very surprised that he's staying simply because of all those charges that you were talking about
But
now.
where's he gonna go, right?
Yeah, that's fair.
I mean,
That's
the
actually a good
man's
point.
literally clocked football. Who's gonna
Yeah,
give him the purse that City's given him, unless he's up for the PSG job? And PSG seem to have
oh,
changed their approach a little bit. And then there's Italy. Those are the two places he hasn't managed. And unless he's thinking of going international, then this extension kind of puts him in place to take over maybe the Spanish national team or a national team after the World Cup.
After the World Cup is a good get actually. That's pretty
And
smart.
I'm sure guys like that they have escape clauses, man. If the charges come in thick and fast and they get found guilty and they get relegated, for example, I'm pretty sure you'd have a clause where he's released if they get relegated or whatever the case is, right? Or
Yeah,
maybe he's committed to the project and, he stays because he's getting paid enough. Who knows? But yeah, to definitely buoy the squad to have that
true.
sorted out. There's no questions about his future anymore, so that timing might not be great for your Spurs boys because the City squad might be a bit more settled. But Spurs, before we get to their kind of the player side of things, talk me through this removal of the only title that Spurs had, their name under the logo.
It's not the only one. There's 2008 Carling Cup, but
Calling
other
Cup
than
or
that,
Audi Cup, get that
we have
right
both
there.
actually. So it's all good. Yeah, it's all good. I don't have any issue with it really. We've only had it for what a small amount of years, I guess. They said like previously we never actually had it there. The only issue that I have is they want to also rebrand the stadium to being called the stadium and not the Tottenham
Okay.
Hotspur Stadium, which
Fair
is
enough because of all the NFL games and the concerts
yeah,
and stuff that they have there. So,
yeah. So that
yeah.
I have a bit of a problem with because
But I think
that's
they
I've
surely have
heard
to sell the naming rights to that stadium at some point. It's got to get some corporate brand in front of it. It can't just be known as the stadium. Like, that's just a precursor to whatever deal they're trying to hash out.
that could be true, but I just wanted to stay. I mean, it's our stadium. It's a football
Yeah, but
stadium first
no,
and
no
foremost.
stadium gets called by the club name. I mean, you got to sell the rights, man, at some point.
I guess so.
Especially in today's commercially driven league,
Yeah.
you need, okay, they're getting great money from the NFL stuff, but yeah, I reckon that's something to watch. But I mean, why change the logo 11 games into the season? It's so weird. Like, so now do you have to go buy a new kit if you're a fan? Like, what do you do?
Levy is an interesting fella. I don't understand what he does half the time, but apparently he's a good businessman. So it must make sense for in the
Yeah,
business
fair
sense of
enough,
it.
but you can only roll with your past achievements for so long before you start getting caught out. Huh? Ask Aaron Rodgers.
What past achievements do we have? Oh goodness, we don't
The
even have
signing
past
of
achievements.
Pochettino, the signing of Mourinho. I mean,
The
these are
selling
all
of Kane.
achievements. I mean, losing to Liverpool in the Champions League final.
Oh, that
Not
was the
that
worst
Arsenal won a
Champions League
Champions
final of
League
all time.
final anyway, either. So we leave it
Oh,
to that. But
you brought
what do you
it
think
up. No.
those chances are this weekend? Can they go to the Etihad and get a result or not?
Yeah, 100%. I think we can. It's odd to have optimism, but that's what the Gang of football has given us. Not that we will. I'm not saying that we will like go there and win, but we can for sure. I think it's a
Yeah,
possibility because of the way that we play and because of the way that City play. We've seen that we've beaten them. We beat them a couple of weeks ago in the Carabao Cup, and
yeah,
um, without Rodri, they seem to be playing sideways a lot. They don't really have that kind of forward momentum as often. Like Kovacic is a great player, no doubt, but he's no Rodri that he can't doesn't
yeah.
get the clean tick.
And I mean, Jack Grealish has been struggling this season. Foden hasn't gotten going, but both of them also didn't join Harry Kane in the England squad, which he wasn't too happy about. But they might actually have gotten some good rest and could be available.
And I feel sorry for Jack. Honestly, I really like him as well. It's similar to a Mount situation where I really like the players as players, but unfortunately they don't do enough on the field, which is
Yeah,
kind of sad. But I think we can definitely go there and win. I think with the way we play, we can definitely kind of make something of, especially because they have a lot of injuries at the back as well. They have a lot of
mm.
injuries at the back.
And if they do, if those guys come back from the injuries, they're going to be playing at less than 100%. So with the pace that Spurs has, they could definitely challenge them, put them under some
Yeah,
pressure. And it's like City just don't have that order when they don't have Rodri in the middle. It's that simple.
I,
Like, it might not make that much of a difference as we think, but when you go there, you're like, okay, they don't have their talisman.
yeah.
And you look around your dressing room, you probably think like, hey, we can actually get a result here. Plus, like you said, that confidence of beating them in the Carabao Cup does count for something. So all
And
for the taking their Spurs. Do us all a favor. Take some points off City.
I think we can, and we've seen Bournemouth and Brighton do the same thing. They've gone and attacked them like we kind of attack, I guess. We don't just sit back; we attack when we can, and they will beaten them as well. So I think they're definitely up for grabs this weekend. Bentancur is absent though. He's got a 7-match ban from the FA for whatever he said about Son, his teammate. But anyways. And so we'll miss him because I think he's been our best midfield player this season
Yeah.
so far.
The biggest miss is Van de Ven, I think, because Dragusin there in the middle, not
That's true.
not too good.
He needs, but you see, that's where the manager needs to tweak a little bit because
Yeah,
we can't rely at the moment. The kind of way we play relies on Nicky Van de Ven because
yeah.
we defend with two players, Romero and Van de Ven. And when the ball is put over the top, Van de Ven goes and cleans it up. But when he's not there, we can't play like that because when the ball goes over the top, nobody's cleaning, and then we find ourselves in trouble.
Do
So
you think Dragusin's the right guy for Haaland? You know, they both got the long hair. Dragusin, Haaland actually had a tough time with a Brighton defender recently.
yeah,
So, you know, if Dragusin can take a leaf out of that guy's book, Van Heck, I think his name was, then
John Wall,
Haaland's in for a battle, you know, just a few. Because Dragusin likes the physical stuff. He gets in there.
yeah, he does, and he likes to get into stuff, and so does Romero. But I will tell you that I think I have a sneaky suspicion that he's going to start Ben Davis. So that might be a bit different there.
Okay.
Like he'll start Davis instead of Dragusin. I'm not sure why I think that. Maybe just to have cover on both sides in
Yeah,
case Romero gets injured, because I think Romero came off for
you're
Argentina with a
right.
foot
You
injury.
are. I think you're right. Yeah, I think there's a doubt on Romero, but yeah, I think he'll play.
Yeah, so just in case Romero
Mm.
gets injured during the game, I think he'll want Dragusin as the sub, and then Ben
Yeah,
Davis will play start on as a left centre back. So it's going to be interesting to see. Porto had a good game for Spain as well during their photo in this international break. So
I
I'm
think
excited for the game.
Vicario didn't have a good game for Italy, if I'm not mistaken.
You know, I get annoyed with our own fan base. You know, like my own fan base is annoying me at the moment. Every time something happens, then they get on the people's backs. Like the Brennan situation, they got on his back. He scored 7 games in a row. Now they're getting on Vicario's back. He's a great keeper. Like obviously, not all keepers are complete keepers. Like they can't be complete
Yeah, I
all
think
at
it's
once.
okay.
He's not bad. He's a good shot stopper.
Greater stretch, but
He's not there yet. He's new. Like he's new. So if next season he's still, and we have a history of not having good keepers. Since I have been supporting the club, not once have we had a decent keeper besides Brad Friedel. That was the only
so
decent
you
keeper we
didn't
had.
like the Lloris era.
Nope, I hated Hugo Lloris. I thought he made way too many mistakes. Paul Robinson speaks for itself. Hilario Gomez speaks for itself.
Man,
What
Ilario
about keepers
Gomez, isn't he at Chelsea?
as a coach?
He was at
Or
Chelsea. I think he's in the coaching staff or something. I think
okay.
I read that if it's is it the same guy? He's gonna be Thomas Tuchel's goalkeeping coach for England.
For
Or
their
is it a
sake, I hope
different
not.
guy? Maybe it's a different Hilario. I think I'm getting it wrong. I think you're talking about Hilario Gomez and I'm talking about
Yes,
Hilario. It's
yes,
two
yes.
different.
Hilario Gomez.
There's
That's
this.
very
Yeah, I got you.
the
I can
Watford
picture it
keeper.
now. Yeah, yeah, I got you. I got you. I'm thinking of
Yeah,
a
yeah.
different guy who was at Chelsea. But yeah, he's joining Tuchel's backroom staff apparently.
Okay, interesting.
Very.
But yeah, I think that Vic has the most potential out of all the keepers that I've ever seen at my club. So I'm happy with him. He might not be able to stop corners and free kicks, and he's a small boy.
Yeah, Luca
But
Dean dominated him
yeah,
in the France and Italy game
but
this week.
we have to take what we can when we can. So how do you
Yeah,
feel like? How do you feel the game is going to go as an
I'm thinking
outsider?
goals galore. I reckon I'm looking at a 2-all draw somewhere around there. But I wouldn't
Okay.
be surprised if either team scores four, to be honest.
That's a good shot. Is that your prediction in a 2-all draw for the game?
Yeah, you know, I'm a fence sitter
That's
for the
me.
current Premier League. Yeah, but you know, you and I, we sit on the fence, bro. But I'm going a high scoring draw this time. I normally go with
Okay.
a low scoring, but
Okay.
I think there's going to be goals in this game. And I think Ireland's going to net a couple. He's got some
Okay.
form coming off the international break. He scored a decent amount of goals.
Yeah.
So I think he might find his golden touch again. I just hope they draw. So, City can drop some points. But I mean, yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if City come out with a win. Hoping for Spurs to do something for the rest of the league. But yeah, I'll take a 2-all draw. I think I'll settle on that.
Okay. And just one question before I give my prediction and then we end off is I'm going to ask you, where do you think kind of the key battle is going to be in that game?
Man, with all the injuries and so on, I reckon it's I wouldn't say it's going to be a battle, but it's going to be whichever striker is going to be more clinical.
Okay.
So between Haaland and Solanke, whoever is more clinical, that's going to basically win the game. And it's a bit of a cop out because goals win you games, and these are the two guys that score. But the pressure's on for Solanke because I think they're going to create a lot, and it's going to be up to him to be at the end of it. Whereas with Haaland, he just needs one or two chances, and he can make you pay. So
Yeah.
yeah, it's the strikers who's more clinical. I think that's going to decide the game.
Not a bad bet. Not a bad bet at all. I was hard on Solanke at the beginning of the season when we brought him in for such a big price.
Yeah, you like your fan base, man. You jump on people's backs. You don't call the kettle black here. The pot calling the kettle black. Come on now, man.
I
You say the
just
fan base do it, but then you also do it, just with
no, but I
different
mean,
players.
no, I didn't have issue with him specifically. I just have issue with the price tag. That's all I had.
But I
But now
mean,
you know
at the end of the day, guys can't control their price tag, right?
that's
Solanke
true. That's
didn't
true.
phone
I did
Levy
say
and
that.
say, "Listen, pay this amount for me."
Yeah, that's
It's
fair.
it's out of your control as a player.
That's fair. That's fair. And to his credit, he is everything that Harry Kane isn't. So I love him, to be honest with you. Not as much as I should love him at the end of the season, but I'm getting there. I'm warming up to him
Yeah,
because
no,
he's off
he's
the
a
ball. He's
good
a hard
player.
worker.
He's
He's
gonna
a
be
hard
good for
worker.
Spurs also.
I hope so. There are also rumblings that James Madison might leave, which is ridiculous. But
Wow.
we'll get to that when the time comes in January. My prediction for the weekend's game is going to be. I don't want to. You see, I know that you're on my side here because we want City to
Look,
drop
man.
points.
I think you should just. I'll give you a pass this week on the prediction. Just go enjoy the game as a fan. Don't worry about predictions. Leave it to me. Because as a
Okay.
fan, you're obviously hoping for a win. So just go out there and support your team, and maybe the viewers can tell us in the comments what their
Right.
predictions are for the game, so
Okay.
we can give you a bit of a breather this week.
I was going to make it, but I was going to Tukumas completely.
Yeah,
Um,
exactly. That's why we just
okay.
rather leave it.
I was going with my heart, but
Because
okay,
you're a
we,
bit
we, we
dangerous.
won't do it. Yeah, that's true. I do be dangerous quite a bit. So let us know in the comments below what you think the prediction is, or what are you guys' predictions? What do you think the scores are going to be for that City game? And also, where tell us in the comments as well. Where do you think United are going to end up at the end of the season? Top 7, top 10, top 15, top 3.
Top of team.
Just I'm just putting it out there, way
They
about.
just have to catch up
Um,
every week and they'll finish in the top 15.
that could very well be true because I mean all the bottom 5 is a bit shocking at the moment. But yeah, thanks for joining us today on this episode, this surprisingly long-winded episode, but it was really really good. Ziyaad, where can we find you on social media? Let us know. Tell us.
Yeah. Like I said at the beginning, I think we're making the shift now off the platform formerly known as Twitter, and we're
Right.
making our way to Blue Sky, getting some more activity on Threads, keeping it simple. Ziyaad Parker 7, and yeah, come chat. We know we'll talk about football, but with the NFL season heating up and coming to a very interesting part of the season, come talk to us about that. Both Riyaz and I are into it now, so love to engage with a few more people on that. Some good cricket coming up also, but off topic here. But yeah, we're there to talk about all these things. Yeah, and follow us and just engage with us.
Yeah, 100%. And the box also are doing really well. I guess I'll just continue
Damn.
that thing.
Box, Bafana, way
Yeah,
we everywhere.
we're doing pretty
Fly the
well. We're doing
flag.
pretty well.
The box can
Surprisingly.
actually end the tour unbeaten if they beat Wales.
Yeah.
And it's be the first time since 2012 or something like that. So a lot of sport happening, and yeah, it's exciting time to be a South African.
Yeah, 100%. So come and get involved with us. Tag us on Twitter, Instagram, follow us at sportycast. Like, share, and subscribe. Comment down below. And yeah, just we appreciate the love, guys. So just make sure that you engage with us. You can get me on Twitter at @Parker_Riyaz. I had to check on the small little thing there what my handle was. Because I might have forgotten about it. But yeah, come and engage with us, and we're more than happy to talk a lot of nonsense. I'm getting into NFL as well, like Ziyaad said. So yeah, just make sure that you kind of teach me a couple of things before I just wax lyrical about random things that I like about certain players.
Nah, I
Because
got you covered, man. I got you covered. Don't worry.
you also don't like some of the players that I like, but you know, that's the nature
That's
of
how it
sport.
goes, man. That's how it
Yeah,
goes. You know, we take our Arsenal Spurs rivalry to other sporting codes as well.
oh, that's fair. That's fair. Thanks to you guys for joining us, and we'll see you next week. Peace.
Cheers, guys.